Hi and welcome, my name is Nicole with morningchores.com. Today's video I'm demonstrating how to water bath can your very own peaches. If you're new to canning and a little intimidated by it, not sure where to start, I would highly recommend checking out our introduction videos. We have an introduction to water bath canning as well as pressure canning. I will link those in the description box below. Today's video I'm going to walk you through the steps of how I can peaches, but I'm not going to go into a lot of explanation on the steps and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So again, if you're new, check those out first and then come back and learn how to can these delicious, yummy peaches. The recipe that I'm following today is out of the Blue Ball Canning book. I will also have that link in the description box below, but it's a great book full of recipes and it also gives you step-by-step instructions on what I'll be demonstrating today. Some of the benefits to preserving your own fruits and vegetables is you are capturing the optimal flavor and nutrition of that fruit or vegetable at its peak prime moment in the year when it tastes the best. So you're locking in that flavor and nutrition. Now I will say some of the nutrition is lost during the canning process, but you're still getting some nutrition when you open up a jar of these in the wintertime, and nothing beats the flavor that you capture. It tastes like a peach from summertime, and when it's cold outside and the snow is falling, sometimes you need a little bit of an escape. So just doing something simple like having a bowl of peaches with ice cream or homemade whipped cream or on top of your oatmeal just makes all the difference in the world. The first step in canning your peaches is to purchase the peaches, and it's really good to purchase them and can peaches when the peaches are in season. That's when they're going to taste the best. I prefer to buy my peaches while they're still firm, they're not ripe. That way I have more control over when I actually go to can them. If you can a peach when it's not ripe, it's just not going to taste good. So usually what I do is I buy my peaches, I bring them home, and then I lay them out on a towel just like this, and I lay them upside down and I let them sit. And I let them sit there until I feel like they're the perfect ripeness. You don't want them to be too firm, but you also don't want them to be too ripe. So what I like to do is I pick a peach up in my hand and I just press it gently with my thumb. And if my thumb easily makes an indentation, but not too easily, then it's perfect and they're ready for canning. The other reason you want to try to aim for optimal ripeness is if the peaches are too firm, it will make it very difficult to remove the skin. But it's also difficult to remove the skin if they're too ripe. So it takes a little practice to learn when this little window of time is, but the more that you can the peaches, the more you'll learn to understand when the right time is. The next step is to wash your peaches just to get that film off and make sure that they're clean and ready for the next step. I have my canner pretty much ready to go. I have my jars heating up in the water. And then I also have my lids and my rings back here on low heat just to get everything nice and hot and ready for the canning process. Over here I have my syrup recipe. This is basically just sugar and water. You bring it to a boil and then let it simmer. The recipe for the syrup and the peaches today is coming from the Blue Ball Guide to Preserving. I talk about this in our Beginner's Guide to Canning videos, and on page 16 in my book, it has the recipe for the syrup, and you can make it extra light, medium, heavy, corn syrup or honey. I like to do the extra light because the peaches are sweet enough. I don't really feel they need a lot of sugar, and we get enough sugar in our diets anyways. So I follow the extra light recipe, and I usually double this. So I use organic cane sugar and just water. Really, really simple. Our next step is to remove the peach skins. Now you can do this manually by just using a paring knife and removing it by hand, or you can use the hot water ice bath method, which is what I prefer to use. So what we're gonna do is boil some water on the stove. And once that water is ready to go, we're gonna pour it into this bowl here. Place the peaches in the hot boiling water for 1 minute, and then we will place them in the ice bath, and that will basically separate the skin from the flesh, and it should make it easy to remove that skin. I love it when they just slip right off. That makes it super easy. Some of them are a little trickier and it doesn't work, and then you do need to go in with a paring knife, but I do find this way is a lot faster than just doing it by hand. So to begin the skin removal process, I'm just gonna start by putting maybe 8 peaches in here at a time. You don't want to do too many at one time because it gets crowded and then it doesn't work as well. The hot water in. We're gonna let the peaches sit in here for roughly a minute and then transfer them to the ice bath. I'm gonna be using this grabber thing to get the peaches out because they're very hot. But I can already see the skin starting to peel away. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put 8 more in here just to get the process starting, and while the water's hot, I want to take advantage of that. 7, 8. And then I can start working on these peaches. And as you can see, the skin just rubs away. So it's always great when it actually works and it's super fast. Sometimes it does stick a little bit, but that one was perfect. And then what I like to do is I like to pare it in half, like this. Open it up like that, remove the pit, and then just add the peach to a bowl. I have to work kind of quickly because I have those ones in the hot water. Ta-da! You want to try to get all the skins off, because if you can peaches with skins on them, it gets chewy. And that's just not something fun to bite into when you're eating peaches. You can also run it under cold water to help remove the skin. Sometimes that helps. I've got my peaches ready to be canned, but there's a couple things I wanted to discuss. You can leave them halved just like this, or you can slice them like this. This is how, I think you can buy peaches either way in the store. So it's really a personal preference. I personally like to leave them halved for the most part because I think they stay more intact and they don't get mushy as they sit in the jar over time. But I do slice a few because sometimes I need to fit just a few pieces on the top of the jar, which you'll see here when I begin to fill the jars. So it's really a personal preference. Another item I like to use is, this is called Fruit Fresh. It keeps the produce from turning brown. So after you get them sliced, I like to just shake some of this onto the fruit just to keep it from turning brown, because nobody wants to eat brown peaches. Now, if you don't have Fruit Fresh or don't want to purchase any, you can also use citric acid. Now that we've finished the preparation process with the peaches, it's time to load our jars. I'm going to go ahead and set up my space here and begin that process. If you want more detail on how to water bath can, please watch the introduction to water bath canning in the description below. In that video, I go into all the details about supplies you need and the process and everything. So if you want more of those details, click that below. So I'm just layering my peaches in there, just on top of each other. And then I'm gonna get some of these little pieces in. You wanna pack them firm, but you don't wanna smush them. Just like that. Now we're ready to ladle our syrup over the peaches. And you want to ladle enough in, leaving about 1/2 inch headspace. Basically what that means is you're leaving 1/2 inch of headspace at the top of the jar where there's no juice or no peaches. Now using a clean knife, we're just going to go around the edges. And the purpose of this is to remove air bubbles and also help the syrup get down to the bottom so that we can fill in more syrup as needed. Using a clean cloth, you want to wipe the rims of each jar. Basically just removing any peach residue or syrup residue. This will ensure that your lids will seal correctly. Once that's done, we can start adding our lids. There's one there. You want to tighten them tight, but not too tight. Just once it stops, then you stop twisting. Place them in your canner. So I've got them all in the canner. We're going to lower the jars and bring this to a boil. You want to make sure that your jars are completely submerged in the water. We're going to place a lid on top, and I'm going to turn the heat to high because we want to get this to a boil. And now we just got to sit and wait. Our peaches are now to a boil. So what I'm going to do is turn the heat down to probably medium-high, and we're going to process these for 20 minutes. You want to make sure that you keep it boiling for 20 minutes. So don't turn the heat down too low or you'll have to start all over. So we'll see you back here in 20 minutes. Our timer went off and we processed them for 20 minutes. So now we're going to remove the jars and set them on a clean towel. We're going to let these sit here until they completely cool, and then we will check the seals to see if they actually sealed and go from there. I have let these sit until they're completely cool to touch. So what you want to do to check if they sealed is remove the ring like this, and the center should be pointed inward, so you shouldn't feel a bump. And then I just kind of go around with my fingers, just checking to make sure it's not pulling up easily. So it looks like that one's sealed. It's pointed inward and it's not pulling on the edges. Same here. And same here. So all 8 of my jars sealed, so that's exciting. My jars have been sitting here for a couple of days now. I just like to kind of let them sit, and they are very sticky from all of the syrup, because when you can, some of the juices overflow into your canner and it just makes everything very sticky. So we're gonna go ahead and wash these, and don't be afraid to submerge these underwater. As long as they're sealed properly, they should be fine. I like to use warm water and a little bit of soap just to get all of that syrup stuff off. Next, you want to dry them off really good. You just want to make sure that you get all of the moisture off of them, and you also want to make sure you get in these grooves, because not only can food residue sit in there, you want to make sure that you're drying it off as well. The last thing you want to do is label your jars. Now, some of these lids I've reused. I don't recommend that. That's something that I personally feel comfortable doing. And there's definitely things you got to look out for if you do reuse your lids. But I would recommend just purchasing new, especially if you're new to canning. But some of these have old labels on them, so I just have to cross that out. And then I'm just going to write peaches. And then I just write the year. Some people go as far as writing the month. I don't do that because we cycle through our stuff consistently enough that I don't really have to worry about things sitting on the shelf too long. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and you're inspired to can peaches. This is the time of year to get them, at least in my area, and they're super delicious and juicy and ripe, and it's always fun to capture that flavor in a jar to enjoy in the long winter months. You can also head over to morningchores.com. The link is in the description box below. You can find all kinds of information over there on food preservation, gardening, and much, much more. Hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the next video.